Welcome to the pandemic vlog,
where everything is wrong.
Hashtag
social distancing. So for our calendar update today, it is Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. It is our 18th day in isolation, and the total active case count in the United States today is 225,431. That's up from 197,625 yesterday. And in addition, the world hit 1 million coronavirus cases today. So pretty terrifying benchmark.
So that's wild.
Yeah, that is wild. So now it's time for
our headlines.
So my first headline is actually reported by Politico. The Bay Area sees a flatter curve after 2 weeks of social isolation. So you'll remember that 6 counties in the Bay Area were the first to enact strict social distancing measures and an enforceable shelter in place. And now doctors are hoping that those efforts have actually prevented a surge in the number of coronavirus cases in the Bay Area. So they are actually reporting fewer cases than they expected to see. And in addition, Stephen Prati, an infectious disease doctor in Northern California, said that Kaiser Permanente is, quote, seeing a leveling off of COVID-19 cases in our hospitals. Kaiser has seen calls related to colds and coughs drop by more than half since the Bay Area's social distancing measures were put in place. And it's true that the Bay Area still expects a surge of coronavirus cases. It's not that they think that they've totally prevented everything, but they're experiencing a slower increase in other areas of the country, which is promising. And the Bay Area recently extended their stay-at-home order until May 1st.
Although I am interested on this part about the surge of or the decrease in the number of calls.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's just also people not being as paranoid because they're at home, like they're
because
at
they
home,
feel like they
know that they're not
at
out
risk
and exposed, so you're not going to be like, oh, I have a cold, if you know you've been
I guess that's
truly
true.
quarantined for a while.
That's a good point. That's a good point. In some terrifying news, an MIT researcher warns that coronavirus droplets can travel up to 27 feet. Lydia Buriba, an expert in fluid dynamics at MIT, wrote, quote, given various combinations of an individual patient's physiology and environmental conditions, such as humidity and temperature, the gas cloud resulting from exhalations, sneezes, and coughs, and its payload of pathogen-bearing droplets of all sizes can travel 23 to 27 feet, which clearly has an impact on social distancing and the effectiveness of social distancing. We've been operating under the assumption that standing 6 feet apart is sufficient to lower the chances of transmission, but 27 feet, on top of what we reported, days ago about it, the coronavirus being viable after 17 days on surfaces, it just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And then to compound issues, CNN Health reports that experts have indicated that coronavirus can spread through talking or even just breathing. So a scientific panel shared this information via letter with the White House Wednesday night. So all of those factors combined should scare you. They're not good news.
If you're not already.
Yeah, if you're not already scared, you should be.
Right now.
And Fortune reports that USPS, the United States Postal Service, might have to close down for lack of funding in the coronavirus stimulus package. So there is another coronavirus stimulus package underway as far as I know, so maybe there's USPS funding in there. But it would be actually pretty terrible if USPS stopped functioning.
I think it would be the closest thing to like apocalyptic.
It's interesting because it doesn't seem that scary until you really think about it, and then you realize that it is the unraveling of like the very basic fabric of society, or something that we depend on and take for granted.
Absolutely.
And that our lives really revolve around. My last headline is reported by The Hill, and it's essentially that the Patriots are getting in on the coronavirus fight. So The Hill published a tweet that says the New England Patriots team plane is set to arrive in Massachusetts on Thursday, that's today, carrying more than 1.2 million N95 masks that were retrieved in Shenzhen, China. The Patriots president, Robert Kraft, reportedly paid $2 million for the equipment to help the state battle the ongoing coronavirus pandemic.
All right. So my first headline is pretty depressing. It's about New York City paramedics. So there was a memo that was released to New York City ambulance workers today to not bring cardiac arrest patients into the hospital if they can't get a pulse at the scene. So if you're going into cardiac arrest, usually even if they can't get a pulse at the scene, they bring you into the hospital in the hopes that they can revive you. But now the actual directive is to leave those people be.
Oh, wow.
Which is
gruesome.
Really terrible. Yeah. So 20% of the paramedics that serve New York City have either been exposed to the coronavirus and so have to self-quarantine or currently have it.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a huge percentage.
And then we talked in a previous episode about unemployment numbers, and I think in like the 1960s or something, the official record was 695,000. We broke that a few weeks ago. I think 2 weeks ago, we broke that at 3 million people looking for unemployment. In the 2 weeks since the 3 million people, we have increased 7 million. So as it stands today, a record 10 million people are searching for unemployment benefits, which is just astronomical. Also, in the Navy, so there was an aircraft carrier called Theodore Roosevelt. All right, so on that aircraft carrier, 100 sailors have so far been infected, which is a lot. There's 5,000 soldiers in total on the aircraft carrier. Sorry, sailors, Navy men. So Captain Brett E. Crozier laid out the dire situation unfolding aboard his warship. So he actually wrote a letter about how people were infected on the ship, and then that he wasn't given the correct protocols or PPEs or any type of support necessary to stop the outbreak and deal with the infections. This letter was leaked to the news media, and I guess this says that the senior Defense Department officials were angry that the letter found its way to the San Francisco Chronicle. It's highlighting that there was no support on that ship, and so after it was widely reported, because it got to the San Francisco Chronicle, they removed him from the ship.
Oh, wow.
So he is no longer allowed to captain that vessel. Which is just like, friends, let's all be harmonious. Let's all work together.
Yeah.
Like,
let's just talk about the problem and address the problem instead of trying to sweep it under the rug.
Right, like,
when has that ever worked? That has never worked.
We have 5,000 people on a ship that are not getting off, and 100 of them already have infections. No. Like, I mean, we already talked about this cruise ship. We know how this is going to go.
Yeah, we know how this is going to end.
All right. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about how the CDC and the White House are reviewing their recommendation for all Americans to wear face masks. This article says that the Trump administration, New York Times, that the Trump administration is expected to announce as soon as Thursday that all Americans should wear cloth masks or some other protective situation going on. It is Thursday. We haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming this is going to come out very soon. On the New York Times, they do have little tutorials on how to make cloth masks. So
right, because everywhere is sold out.
Right. So if you don't have a cloth mask, which is very possible, then
use a bandana, something like that.
Use something.
I had to go to the eye doctor today because I had a potentially vision-threatening issue going on with my eyes, and they gave me a free mask. So I was really excited about that because I didn't have a mask before. So, but yeah, masks are really
we have
impossible to come
literally
by.
3 masks in this house. So we even have to reuse them.
Oh yeah, definitely. So today, because we focus on headlines a lot, which I think is really important, but tends to be a downer, I just want to do a short segment today that I'm dubbing the social media corner, which is really not a creative title, but where I went through on my Facebook, on my Instagram, on Google, and, you know, picked out feel-good memes or funny memes or just cute pictures. So we're going to splice those in. The first one is actually a letter from a child to its mother, a nurse from the National Health Service in the United Kingdom. And the letter reads, "Dear Mom, this coronavirus has everyone going crazy. However, we wouldn't be getting through it without nurses like you on the NHS. Well done for being so strong. Tomorrow is a new day. Get some sleep, relax, and let Stacey Solomon get you giggling. We love you." And I thought that was just so sweet. Like, that really is your family is so supportive and so helpful. I'm sure that really helps buoy the spirits of healthcare workers who are putting their lives on the line right now. The second picture I have, it's actually two pictures, and it's a picture of an orangutan playing with otters. And it's just so cute and adorable. In fact, I'll show you the pictures, Celia, so that you can see them in advance. Here, these two.
Oh, they're so little. The otters are so small.
They're so tiny. The next one is from an article that I read that was about people being really bored and what they do during quarantine when they're bored. And so this is a picture of a woman who built a house with stuff from her backyard. And by stuff, I mean like feathers, bark, moss, grass. And I just thought it was very creative. Also, someone who made a toga for their dog out of an old t-shirt because they were super bored. That one's really cute. And second to last, a pithy meme that reads, "You wanted a reality show host as president. Well, now you're on Survivor."
Yeah.
I thought that was clever. Yeah. Trump was on
The Apprentice.
The Apprentice, so.
Where he shouted, "You're fired" at everyone, which actually is very ironic because now nobody has a job in this country.
Yeah, that's true. And then the last one is just a really sweet picture of a Cocker Spaniel, I think it's a Cocker Spaniel, taking time to literally smell the roses. Yeah. Really
also,
sweet.
Can we put in the videos of the puppies at the aquarium?
Oh, yeah. You sent it to me, right?
Yeah, there's a video of two puppies, like, literally looking at the fish in an aquarium. They're just, like, the shelter puppies from the shelter. And
yeah, it's so adorable.
It's actually really cute.
There's also another one, I don't have the video at this point, but of the penguins going for a walk inside the aquarium. Yeah. That one's really cute,
and it's so interesting because the animals are actually looking at.
Yeah, you can see them. You can see the animals like looking around and being like, what is going on?
Both the puppies and the penguins.
Yeah, they're just like floored by whatever they're witnessing.
And that it's a huge, like, a whale went by and the puppies were like,
they were like, what is that?
Like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
Yeah, so I'll try to find those clips and put them in. So we're gonna do an interesting little activity today. We're sort of, it is quarantine, so it's hard to come up with things to do on the vlog every day. I'll just be honest about that. But so one thing that we're going to do is actually do a tarot card reading about the situation at hand. So I'm not very good at tarot cards. I had my tarot cards read at a festival, at a state fair rather, and thought it was cool and thought it would be like a cool thing to know and to do, but I mean, there are a lot of cards, so it's hard to learn. So that is all to say that I'm not very good at it, but we're gonna try, and you can just bear with us. And I hope you enjoy.
Hello, welcome to our tarot corner. So we're starting off by shuffling the deck. I've done it, now Bianca's doing it.
And the purpose of shuffling the deck is to infuse the cards with your energy to have a more accurate reading. So Celia and I have both shuffled the cards so that both of our energies are infused up in them. And I'm just going to shuffle one more time. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut the deck into 3 piles. And we're using the left hand, which is the hand of fate. And then we're going to choose one of those piles to go on top. So which one do you prefer?
The middle one.
The middle one. Okay, so we'll take this. We'll put the other piles underneath. And now we're ready to start the reading. So in tarot, you can do a reading based on many different spreads, which is a configuration of cards. So you can have, ones with multiple cards, like 10 cards, for example, which are obviously very complex. We're going to do a really simple spread. We're going to do a 3-card spread where the first card represents the past, the second card represents the present, and the third card represents the future. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the first card, and it's death in reverse. So that is our past card. So we'll see what that means.
I guess I've been death in reverse this whole time. I've been alive.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. And then our next card is strength. So this is our present card. And then our future card is the sun in reverse. Interesting. All right, so let's go ahead and start our interpretation. So we're going to start our interpretation with death because that is the first card. And this is death in reverse, as we said. And so death in reverse is very interesting. And I'll remind you that this is the past. And so we, after consulting with each other, are going to interpret this as the recent past. So I'm actually reading from a book called The Ultimate Guide to Tarot by Liz Dean, and I'll splice in a photo of the cover. So we're reading the description of the cards, but we're also putting our own spin on it because that's the whole point of tarot, is creating your own sense of interpretation and your sense of the cards. So death brings endings and beginnings. Death's impact is sudden and maybe shocking, and you have little control over external events when death looms, but in time you'll be able to see this sharp change in circumstances as a blessing. The past couple of weeks have obviously marked a huge change in circumstances.
Thank you for your input.
And a very abrupt ending in how we perceived and lived life previously. And it's interesting because this card, in terms of home, in terms of what it means for your home life, it says you may need to find a new home. The place you are living no longer meets your needs. New circumstances may offer an opportunity to relocate, which is very interesting for me personally because my home in New York City did not meet my needs during this pandemic, and so I did need to find a new home in the recent past.
It also says that external events you have no control over, which it feels like that.
It feels like, that is exactly what's
true.
happening. So death in reverse, actually, what I just read is the description of the card in the upright position, but death in reverse actually has much the same meaning. The key difference is that you may feel anxious and stressed, unable to comprehend what's happening rather than being accepting, and definitely experienced a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress at the beginning of this process in this pandemic. I personally didn't have trouble accepting reality, but the stress and anxiety rings true for sure.
Although I did kind of have trouble accepting reality. Like I found times where I was like, where it felt so surreal that like it felt like I would be doing something normal and then like remember that this is something like that's going, and be like, holy
and be shocked
crap,
by it.
be like, really, like, what?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our second card, which is strength in the upright position.
So the second card is our strength card, as Bianca just said. And it is in the upright position, and it signifies the present.
In this spread.
Yeah.
So the strength card represents that courage, determination, and patience are needed now, as it is time to get a situation under control. You will need to act with grace and sensitivity. This card signifies that you are ready to take on a challenge and stand firm. Others may resist, like pretty much everyone around us who is not socially isolating, but be consistent in your actions and results will come. The strength card also shows resilience and vitality, recovery from illness, and the willpower to break bad habits. So I actually think this is also very apropos. I mean, we are in a situation where we need courage and determination to get through it, and we need to persist in our efforts to maintain social distancing. It makes intuitive sense that the strength card would come up, right? Because even if you don't know anything about tarot and you just see the strength card, you have inherent sense of what that card means. It means strength. So I think, as a nation and as individuals, we do need strength right now to get through this. And as Celia reminded us, this card represents the present. And so, so very much working on strength in this moment.
Yeah. And peace and patience is really key during this time, especially when you're holed up with your family and there's like it's hard to be like for us, there's not like, our parents aren't here. We don't have like other siblings here. So it's, it's fine. But like people have, even like 7 family members in their house, like it's just like, it is a time to get really intense. And instead of that, like we need to counteract with peacefulness.
Yeah.
Serenity.
Exactly.
Strength.
All right, so let's move on to our last card, which is the Sun in reverse, and it represents the future.
Well, that sounds terrifying. So our future card is the reverse Sun, the Sun in reverse. And I felt like that was going to be doomsday, but it wasn't.
I did too. I thought we were going to get like the Tower or something like that, or one of the cards that really represents a huge rupture. But the Sun, it's actually, as the book says, virtually impossible to see any negative side to the Sun, even when reversed. So that's really good news. The Sun, as you might imagine, represents a really positive future. So the Sun shows that every aspect of your life will improve. You'll enjoy more energy. And this is crucial. If you or someone close has suffered from health problems, the card predicts recovery and return to good health. So that's obviously extremely important. Now, a lot of people have family members that are ill. A friend of ours had 2 family members die already of coronavirus. So it's important that the card predicts recovery.
Actually, we did hear of quite a few people who have potential infections that we know today.
Yeah.
That I and my husband know. So that's actually really, I hope
that prediction comes true. The Sun also heralds a good time to nurture your creative endeavors, your business, and the relationships you value. And remember, this is our future card. So I think that makes sense because after this period of isolation, this period of our lives coming to a standstill, we are going to appreciate the time and the energy that we need to put in to our creative endeavors, our business, and our relationships to rebuild them. And the funny thing about this card is that, as we said, it's nearly impossible to see a negative side to the Sun, but the book does say the only glitch could be a delay to travel plans, and that makes perfect sense as well. So essentially, it seems like we are destined to recover, we are destined to regain our lives and resume our purpose, but you might not be able to count on that vacation anytime soon.
And also, like, I think we shouldn't take this as that everything in our context is going to go back to normal. I think if we get too far into this, we're not going to see like this exact same America or the exact same globe that we saw before. I just don't know that even building up our processes after this is going to look the same, or that our legislation is going to look the same. There's just not, people are saying there's just not enough support. So I just feel like this could be a good prediction of like, even if things look different can still be good.
Like a regeneration, even if it's
not a regeneration of what's going on,
not a resurrection.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it certainly can be seen as that, and I think that's like, I think keeping your spirits up, just like being peaceful and like really staying grounded is like key.
All right. So this was your first tarot reading.
It was my first tarot reading.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I was telling Bianca earlier that I asked when this whole thing began, what would happen if we got the death card? Because what if that meant we're all gonna die? And we got the death card, and it wasn't that. And actually, I will say that I felt that tarot cards were like, you know how like just in the media, they show it like someone gets a bad card and then like they leave the tarot card and you're like, oh my God, like I'm gonna die. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I kind of felt like it was that, but it like, the interpretation is not that black and white.
Right. It's very fluid.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own method of interpretation, their own way of looking at the cards, their own way of connecting with the cards. So yeah, it's definitely a more fluid practice than I originally thought. I thought it was like a rigid, this is what the cards mean, but you know, every tarot reader will read a situation or a spread differently. So
yeah,
it's a really interesting thing. It's a
really
creative, it's a good creative outlet.
Yeah.
So that is our show for today.
Yeah. So stay safe, stay healthy, stay socially distanced. Like, please.
Please.
And hashtag
social distancing.